Hey everyone, welcome back to the Imperial Minis channel. This is Randall, and today we're presenting Battle Report number 32 in our ongoing A Song of Ice and Fire Battle Report series. In my previous video, I committed to getting this video out within a couple of weeks of that video. I did not succeed. In any case, this one's coming out in quicker succession than the typical gap between Battle Report videos, so I hope you'll all appreciate that in consolation. I'll attempt to finish editing the remaining couple of Season 6 battles I've recorded before an update patch drops. The editing may be a bit more slapdash as a result, perhaps without the usual voiceover of all actions, and reverting to a longer form editing style. It seems like there's an update on the horizon, although at the time of recording, we have no date for the release of that update. If it comes later rather than sooner, perhaps I'll have time to record more Season 6 battles beyond the 2 more that I have in the production queue. This video features the final round top table match of the tournament that we featured in Battle Report 31, taking place at Battleground Collectibles in Belton, Texas. In our previous video, Andre and his Ser Gregor army took the win to advance to the top table game. Opposing him in this match is me, running one of my all-time favorite commanders and characters, Stannis the One True King. The game mode for this final match is a Feast for Crows. I won't spend too much time covering our armies, since Andre's army was discussed in some detail in our previous video, and my army is only a slightly different version of the one that I ran in Battle Report number 30. Stick around to the end of the video to see some pictures from the tournament and a final group photo of all the participants. Alright, looking at Andre's army again, this is the same army he ran in the previous video, so I won't go into too much detail here. The core of his army is Ser Gregor in the Honor Guard, backed up by some Pyromancers that are going to be very scary. And then Andre really loves the Gate Warden attachment, so he's put the Gate Warden attachment in the Lannister Port City Watch and in the Lannister Halberdiers, and it's really quite a good attachment. I had experience playing against it in this game, and I've seen him use it in other games, and I always just kind of overlooked this attachment, but it really pays dividends for him, and every time I've seen him use them. So they're quite good. And then he had a couple of extra points left over for attachments, so he's got turncloaks or turncoats that are always useful to deal an auto wound and dish out a condition token when you need them. And that's all we'll say about his army. If you want a little bit more detail on it, you can listen to the previous battle report. Now turning to my army, this is a similar army to the one I ran in Battle Report 30. The only change here is instead of Jack and Hagar NCU, in the previous video I brought Patchface. Patchface didn't do as much for me as I hoped he would, but I knew at the very least Jack and Hagar would provide some value every, probably just about every round. You know, I could either do a double Melisandre bomb on something, or if my opponent brought a very useful influence, I could copy that. So one reason I brought this army was also kind of as an anti-Martell tech. So Ariane Martell is super annoying, and I knew that if I brought Jack and Hagar, that it would be kind of a little bit of a counter possibly to a Ariane Martell list, because the other player might see this and not want Ariane used against them. So that was kind of what I had in mind. But at the end of the day, even if you don't copy a useful influence with Jaqen, he can always just give one of your units precision, which isn't terrible. I mean, it's not reason enough to bring him on his own, but it's still good. And for the rest of my army, I won't go into too much detail, because if you've watched the couple of battle reports ago, I went into more detail. But this is kind of like my solid Stannis list I always bring. At least 3 of the elements are. The Halberdiers, Kingsmen, and Lightbringers are kind of must-haves for me in this kind of a list. Brian Ferring and Halberdiers makes them super tanky if the tactic zone control works in my favor. Stannis and Kingsmen, there's not much to say there. Extremely tanky unit, very hard to kill. And then Lightbringers with Davos is awesome because it gives rerolls and then supply aid to just top off any of the units around him, keep other units healthy. And then Flayed Men are there to kind of synergize a bit with the Melisandre bomb, panic damage. They're also just better heavy cavalry than the Champions of the Stag, unfortunately. And then I had an extra attachment point, so I put Dragonstone Noble into them because getting a free maneuver off of Sentinel or a free charge is never a bad thing. So that's why they're there. No reason to really go into the NCUs. I've already talked about that. Alistair is always, MVP for Stannis lists especially. Now we'll take a quick look at deployment and my initial plan and assumptions prior to getting underway. So looking at deployment, not a whole lot of surprises here. My army, for the most part, wants to kind of stick together. Stannis wants to be kind of close to the Lightbringers and be within range of that supply aid. The Halberdiers, I have them on my right flank to ideally get up there to that objective and just kind of hold out right there because they can be extremely tanky. Also, putting taunt right there is not a bad thing because I could potentially throw some tokens out to the rest of Andre's army. Stannis is in the middle there, potentially able to get flanked, but I'm not too worried since To the Last is a little bit of a spike damage insurance policy. And then I have the flayed men kind of floating out there, screening my left flank to either go capture that objective or swing in and start doing some damage. On Andre's side, he's keeping it pretty tight as well. He's got his spear units on his flank, and then his core in the middle are his damage dealers. So he has his least expensive units on his flanks with his gate wardens, and then the real core of his army is in the middle there. So we'll look at the initial plan and my assumptions about what he's going to do, and then move on. So for my initial plan, not too much of a surprise. I'm going to kind of move up straight up the center there, try to hold that right objective with the Halberdiers. Use the Lightbringers to pepper anything that comes close. I'm really going to be aiming for those Pyromancers. They're a unit I really want to destroy with my Lightbringers as soon as possible. The Pyromancers, they die to a stiff breeze, so if I can shoot enough arrows at them, they're just going to go down. So I really am hoping that the Pyromancers overextend a little bit and I can get some free shots on them. And then Stannis and the Kingsmen, I want to move him up, not recklessly so, because then I might put them in range of a pyro attack. But I want to move him up to just kind of contest the middle and hold Ser Gregor as long as I can. And then the flayed men, I'll probably kind of swing them around the left flank, maybe capture that objective round 2, and then based on the situation on the field, either leave them there, which isn't too desirable because they're an 8-point unit, or swing them in and support. But that's kind of it's going to depend a little bit on what the Lannister Halberdiers are doing. So let's look at Andre's, my assumptions about what Andre's going to do. So I think he's more or less going to move forward, kind of in a mirror of what I'm going to be doing. I think his City Watch will probably dive in on the Halberdiers, and they'll kind of just be poking each other and trading that objective back and forth. The Pyromancers, I think, are going to try to stay out of Lightbringer range. I don't think Andre's going to want to throw them in recklessly and get them blown up. Ser Gregor and Stannis, I think, are both going to kind of slowly move forward and then eventually get into a big kaiju fight because the two units are equally very tanky and equally very deadly. So I think eventually they're going to be, they'll be maybe initially in a little bit of a Mexican standoff, but eventually they're going to dive in on each other. And I think the timing of that will probably depend upon how the ranged exchange is going. And then I kind of assume that those Lannister halberds are going to screen that flank for those flayed men, because Andre does not want those flayed men slamming into his flank. So I think he'll probably use those 5-point halberdiers to try to hold back the flayed men. So we'll see how that goes. Before we start, I want to again say thanks to Andre for agreeing to be filmed, to Battleground Collectibles for letting me film at their store, and a big shout out again to Will for doing a fantastic job TOing at the tournament. At the end of the video, I'll share some pictures of the tournament and a group photo that was taken at the conclusion of the tournament with winners holding their prizes. Will arranged, as he usually does for song tournaments at his store, for the construction of custom dice trays for the top 3 finishers. And it's truly an awesome alternative to the standard unit box price support, and it's something much more memorable, long-lasting, and desirable, I think, for most players. Alright, now, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Andre is first player and begins the first round by activating Joffrey NCU and claiming the Tactics Zone, drawing 2 cards and placing a panic token on my Lightbringers, and influencing them with Joffrey's influence to make them suffer +1 wound from failing panic tests. At the start of my turn, Andre plays a Lannister pays his debts on his halberds. That's the Lannister's quest card. And then for my activation, I activate Alistair NCU and claim the maneuver zone. I use the free maneuver on my halberds to move them up 5 inches closer towards that objective, with the goal being to get to that objective and snag it before Andre can. Andre activates the High Sparrow NCU and claims the Wealth Zone. He replaces the zone's effect with the Bribery card, placing Bribery on my Lightbringers. He then places the High Sparrow's Influence effect on my Halberdiers. I activate Jockin NCU and pass with him, keeping 2 board positions open for the remaining 2 NCUs. Andre activates his Halberdiers, and he marches them straight forward. At the start of my turn, I play Test of Faith to have the Lightbringers take a morale test to increase their defense for 1 attack. More than this though, I'm playing this card to possibly clear Bribery and the panic token off of them by triggering a morale test. In response, and seeing the importance of this morale check, Andre plays his first counterplot of the game. Since he controls the Crown and Wealth zones, the counterplot automatically succeeds. Andre also has a Start of Any Turn card, and plays his second A Lannister Pays His Debts on his Lannisport City Watch. For my activation, I activate the Flayed Men and move them up just short of the bottom corpse pile objective. They'll be in position to control that objective next round if I choose to. Andre activates Ser Gregor's Honor Guard and marches them up 10 inches in line with the Halberdiers. I do some measuring to see where the Lightbringers need to go in order to put the Honor Guard in range for a free ranged attack, and then I activate the Lightbringers and move them up beyond that point just within long range of Ser Gregor's unit. I don't honestly expect Andre to leave the sword zone open after this move, but I'm just forcing his next activation and leaving the crown open for a double panic zap with Melisandre and the crown zone effect. Andre next activates Tywin NCU and indeed claims the swords to block me from being able to get a free ranged attack. Next I activate Stannis and march him forward conservatively, staying close to the Lightbringers. Andre activates his City Watch and marches them forward just outside of the top corpse pile and outside of long range of the halberds and the Lightbringers. Next I activate the Halberdiers, marching them forward, claiming the top objective and pivoting slightly inward. For his last activation, Andre activates his Pyromancers and marches them forward, but he stays out of long range of my front line and out of 14-inch shooting range of my Lightbringers, since I will be first player next round and could lead off with the swords. I activate my last unit, Melisandre NCU, and claim the crown. For the crown effect, I force the City Watch to take a panic test at -2, needing an 8+.
Yep, needs an 8. He'll take 2.
I then have Melisandre influence the Lightbringers and force them to suffer 2 wounds and take a panic test. I'm hoping to clear the Bribery off of the Lightbringers with this test and not take a bunch of unnecessary wounds instead. So, 6 up?
Worse, actually. So, is it just a 6 up?
Because there is 6 up. This doesn't affect her thing. Doesn't affect them. It just gives you a negative modifier.
Oh, I see.
So they just take a standard panic test.
Then,
and if they fail, this still goes off. It doesn't like.
Sure. Yeah. I'm still going to make you reroll the 4 and the 1 with your panic.
Okay. So still needing a
4.
6.
-1.
-1, 7. Exact same roll, I guess. So,
yep.
So that goes away. This goes back. And then I will try to zap these guys.
Okay.
With a -2 +2 wounds.
Needs a 7. They pass.
That's the end of round 1. Andre discards his Overrun card. I discard Sustained Assault and draw up to a hand size of 4 since I control the top objective. At the start of round 2, it is my turn. I play Oath of Duty, the Baratheon quest card. I attach it to Stannis' Kingsmen to juice them up once I lose a unit. For my activation, I activate Alistair Florent NCU and claim the swords. I select the Lightbringers to take a free attack action. I'll be rolling 7 dice on 3+ with rerolls due to True Conviction.
Yeah, I got you.
So 7 dice on 3s, rerolls. So 6.
All right.
And it's a vicious.
6, full plate and shields. I'll take 2. Vicious, 5 check on 7. They fail for 1. So, 3 casualties.
All right. And then this panic test will arc over.
Yep.
I'll have it go
Well, declare the charge.
So they're 5 up there. I'll have to go to the. These guys are 7 on like 2 ranks even still, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I'll have to go on the halberds.
Okay. They pass.
Alright.
After the attack is complete, I use one of Alistair's order tokens to move him over onto the wealth zone. Andre activates the High Sparrow NCU and claims the Tactics Zone. He draws 2 cards, influences my Halberdiers with the High Sparrow's influence, and then drops a Weaken token on my Lightbringers. Next, I activate Jaqen Hagar NCU and claim the swords again. I select the Lightbringers to take a free attack action. They'll be shooting again with 7 dice on 3+ with rerolls, but they are now weakened.
7 dice on 3s with rerolls, but I am weakened. Rerolls.
So all weekend.
Weakened. 3s.
So 5 saves.
5, yes sir.
Plate and shields. Blech. Okay, 4 casualties. And a panic. They pass.
And then I will have him copy Melisandre.
Yep.
And I will have him influence Stannis.
Sure.
So Stannis will take 2 wounds.
Yep.
And then Stannis will suffer a panic test.
Yep.
On 4+. He's good. 1 guy comes back.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna have Gregor take panic test at -2.
He passed.
All right.
At the start of Andre's turn, he has the Pyromancers use their War Cry ability to attempt to panic my Halberdiers. The morale test is successful, so the Halberdiers become panicked. I then play Stag's Wit to remove the token. I don't control any of the zones that are on the card, so none of the additional effects take place. For his activation, Andre activates Joffrey NCU and claims the Crown Zone, placing Joffrey's influence on the Lightbringers and targeting the Lightbringers with a panic test at a net -2, needing an 8+ to pass.
May pass.
Naturally.
At the start of my turn, Andre pops Tywin NCU's once per game ability. He targets the Lightbringers to lose their abilities for the round, becoming vulnerable, and to take the 4 hits. The Halberdiers will take a panic token and then suffer a panic test.
Panic test at a
7.
6 goes to a 7.
Yep. Hooray!
So they fail.
So you fail for 3. It's going to put 3 dudes back on Greg's unit.
Okay. And then 4 hits on the Lightbringers, right?
Correct.
4 on 4s.
I'll take that.
That's not bad for you. So 3. Unless you wanted to use the vulnerable.
No.
When the Halberdiers failed the panic test, they should have dropped the token. We forgot about that in the heat of the moment, but we remedy this later. For my activation, I activate Melisandre NCU. When I do, Andre plays Intrigue and Subterfuge on her to turn off her abilities for the round. Mel claims the maneuver zone, and I select the Halberdiers to maneuver backwards. Andre activates the Lannisport City Watch and declares a charge on the Halberdiers. It's at this point we remember that the Halberdiers should have dropped the token. We do some retroactive token dropping and remaneuvering to come up with the Halberdiers' new position prior to the City Watch's charge. That keeps them in auto charge range, but keeps the Halberdiers just outside of Pyromancer War Crime range. Andre pops the City Watch's order when they attack, giving them critical blow and sundering for their 7 dice attack on a 4+ with rerolls.
Juice. Okay. I'm so sorry.
Wow. So how many is
That is 12 connections with Sundering.
12 with Sundering. So I'll roll 10, and then I'll roll a couple more.
Okay.
So I'm with Sundering, I go to a 4+. So
Perfectly
save
average.
those, and then I'll roll 2 more.
So 6 casualties. And I'm going to play Hear Me Roar with a panic check.
Okay.
Which will be a 1, 2, 3, 4 malice.
4. Okay, so they go to a
10. Yep. So fail for 3.
Zora High. So they're not a R'hllor unit, so I would suffer a maximum of 1.
Okay, that's fine. And I'll put a dude back on Greg for that. But you fail, so I'll take control of the objective.
Yep.
After the attack is completed, I play Baratheon Justice to give the City Watch a vulnerable token. Giving them a weakened token is pointless due to the Gate Warden's superior numbers ability, and giving them a panic token is pointless right now because of the City Watch's domineering pride ability. So, pretty nasty combination of abilities there. I decide to activate the Halberdiers to get in an attack before they're possibly killed by some Lannister trickery that I was not expecting. When I activate them, Andre unexpectedly pulls some Lannister trickery and plays Subjugation of Power to force the Halberdiers to take a very dangerous low health panic test at a net -2.
Minus, that'll kill him.
The Halberdiers are indeed destroyed, earning Andre 1 victory point. Per the game mode rules, I place a corpse pile fully within long range of the dead unit. I place it toward the back flank of my Lightbringer unit, hoping to perhaps sneak over there and eventually capture it. For his turn, Andre activates his Halberdiers and has them just stay put where they are, screening that flank against my Flayedmen. I activate my Lightbringers and back them into that newly spawned corpse pile, jumping onto that objective thanks to the convenient death of my unfortunate Halberdiers. Andre activates his Pyromancers and just nudges them forward a bit, staying out of firing range of my Lightbringers and out of Hail Mary charge range of Stannis and the Kingsmen. I activate my Flayedmen and claim the bottom objective, and then just move to barely stay on top of that corpse pile to retain control of the objective. For his last activation, Andre activates Ser Gregor's Honor Guard and maneuvers him slightly in such a way that if I charge him with Stannis, I'll have to run through the wall. At the start of my turn, Andre pops the Turncoat in Stannis' unit, dealing them 1 wound and giving them a weakened token. I'm assuming he did this just in case Stannis was going to declare a charge against the Honor Guard. But Stannis maneuvers backward in line with the Lightbringer's new position. Realizing how outnumbered I am on this side of the table at this point, I really need to circle the wagons and guard the objectives that I currently control, luring Andre in to come and get me and bring him into firing range of the Lightbringers. That's the end of round 2. Due to the objective that they're sitting on, the Lightbringers will shift themselves back a couple of inches. I will score 2 points from the objectives, and Andre will score 1, so that will tie the score 2-all. At the start of the first turn, Andre pops the second Turncoat, dealing the Lightbringers a wound and panicking them. For his activation, Andre activates Joffrey NCU and claims the crown. He influences the Lightbringers to cause them to suffer +1 wound from failing panic tests, and then he targets them for a panic test at a net -2 with a panic token.
Yep. So 4 casualties from Joffrey, and you lose the token. It has to be within your shift, but
Yeah.
I activate Lannister NCU and claim the Wealth Zone, healing back 3 wounds to the Lightbringers and removing the panic token. I then use an Lannister Order to have him jump over to the maneuver zone to block it. Andre next activates Tywin NCU and claims the Wealth Zone, healing his Honor Guard back up to full. Next, I activate Jaqen H'ghar NCU and claim the Tactics Zone, weakening the Pyromancers and drawing 2 cards. I then copy the High Sparrow's influence and apply that influence to the Halberdiers. I'm giving up some tempo here because Andre is likely to claim the last board position next and lock Melisandre out of the Tactics board, but the Swords isn't as valuable as the Tactics Zone is this round since units are so far from one another right now. It's also never a bad idea to deny a Lannister player the ability to cycle his deck. Andre activates the High Sparrow and claims the Swords, doing nothing with the Swords but influencing the Flayedmen. I activate Stannis and the Kingsmen and maneuver them backwards, roughly in line with the Lightbringers. There's no advantage at this point to me charging them into Andre's front line or even in moving the unit forward. I would just make the Honor Guard charge easier and then set them up for a Pyromancer attack. Instead, the Kingsmen are just circling the wagons. Andre, worried about a Flayedman charge into the flank of his line, activates his Halberdiers and maneuvers them in the direction of the Flayedmen, facing them. I activate my Flayedmen and just slink back around that corpse pile, making any future Halberdier charge more difficult but retaining control of the point, ensuring I'll score another VP at the end of the round. Andre activates Ser Gregor's Honor Guard, maneuvers them forward towards Stannis, but keeps them out of range of the Lightbringer. For my last activation, I have the Lightbringers inch forward to grab the objective again. They're out of range to shoot anything, so they just stop there after moving up a couple of inches. Andre activates his City Watch and maneuvers them forward on the corpse pile, putting them in a position for a slightly long charge into the Lightbringers if they so choose next round. For his last activation, Andre activates the Pyromancers and moves them forward aggressively within short range and a 2-inch shift of the Lightbringers. At the end of the round, I score 2 VPs and Andre scores 1, taking the score to 4 points to 3. Andre discards 2 cards and I discard a copy of Inralor's Name. When I score a point with my Lightbringers, they will shift 3 inches due to the effect of the objective card for that objective. For my first activation of round 3, I activate Lannister NCU and claim the Wealth Zone to heal my Lightbringers and remove their vulnerable token. I then burn an Lannister token to have him move over to the maneuver zone again to deny Andre the ability to get closer to my army before attempting charges or wildfire attacks. Andre activates Joffrey NCU and claims the Tactics Zone. We then back up a little bit to have the Pyromancers use Warcry to give the Lightbringers a panic token. The morale test is successful, so the Lightbringers become panicked. Joffrey gives Stannis a panic token as well from claiming the Tactics Zone. I play Stag's Wit to remove the Lightbringers panic token, since I decide that they're my most vulnerable unit at the moment, and they're in possession of an objective token, so I really need them not to fail panic tests right now. And Joffrey then influences the Lightbringers. Next, I activate Jaqen NCU and claim the swords. I select the Lightbringers to take a free ranged attack against the Pyromancers. First, I'll have the Lightbringers shift back an inch or two to remain in long range of the Pyros, but to give even more distance between the Lightbringers and Andre's units. The Lightbringers will get rerolls since the Pyros outrank them. So they'll be throwing 6 dice at 2 ranks on 3+ with rerolls and vicious.
Sure. Another minute.
Alright, so 6.
60 troops. Kill 5. 5 check. -3.
2.
Corpse
Oh,
pile. But they
corpse
pass. Yep. So 5 casualties. Ow, 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 ow. Ow.
Jaqen will now copy Melisandre's influence effect and influence Stannis' Kingsmen. The Kingsmen will suffer 2 wounds and take a panic test in order to panic bomb one of Andre's units.
5 goes to 4, goes back to 5.
Yep. That fails.
That's not good.
I'm going to go ahead and play Field 2 to the Crown.
Right. Hold on a second. I have, after rolling, I have one first. So I'm going to do Azor High.
I'm going to counterplot that.
Okay. Roll, what, a 2? 2
Yep.
up?
Good. And then I'm going to play Field 2 to the Crown.
Okay.
So you're going to lose an entire rank, and they're going to get 4 dudes back.
So I lose 2 from this, right? Because
you rolled 3. Does he
I
have
rolled 3.
Does
He has Iron Resolve.
I'm going to go.
Okay.
So how many extra are you giving me?
The Field T will be 1 extra.
1 extra. Okay.
So I'll get 3 back then.
With her other half, I do control swords.
And then Melisandre will zap those guys for -3 + 2 wounds.
Yep. They fail for 4 wounds.
We'll give these guys.
Andre activates Ser Gregor's Honor Guard and marches them forward within a few inches of Stannis' Kingsmen, either baiting a charge from the Kingsmen or setting up a charge of his own in the future. I now activate Melisandre NCU and claim the Wealth Zone, healing the Kingsmen for 3 wounds. I get preoccupied thinking about whether to use Mel's Panic Bomb influence effect, and I forget to remove a condition token from the Kingsmen. I decide not to use the influence effect since Stannis is already influenced by Jaqen, and I don't want to risk failing the panic test with either the Lightbringers or the Flayed Men and dropping their respective objective tokens. Andre activates the High Sparrow NCU and claims the crown. He influences Stannis' unit and then plays assault orders to have Ser Gregor take a free charge at his lowest attack die value. Still, Gregor will deal 2 auto wounds on top of any unblocked hits. Since I forget to remove a token from Stannis in my last turn, Andre will now get all the bonus effects of the Honor Guard that he needs. Including the charge bonus, he'll be throwing 5 dice on 3+ with Vicious, Sundering, rerolls, and they'll shut off the Kingsman's non-innate abilities.
I'm just going to paint the rainbow on Lannister Oppression. I'm only going to get 5 dice, but it'll be 2 automatic wounds, Vicious, Sundering, and no abilities.
Okay, so let's go 2 wounds.
Yep.
Okay.
And reroll. So that'll be 4 saves at -1.
4 saves on a 5+. Whoops.
Shoot you in the side. I will owe you a penny.
4 saves, 5+.
Well rolled. So one more
one.
casualty.
One more guy. You said you turned off my abilities?
Correct.
Okay. So Stannis will not affect their panic test. They'll be a 5, go to a 6.
Yep.
Panic token.
I'll panic token to reroll the 4.
Right.
Okay.
Still good.
When rolling for panic, I forget to consider vicious, so I should have been rolling on an 8+ panic save, which would have resulted in a failure. Neither I nor Andre catch this at the time, though. I activate Stannis' Kingsman and declare an attack against Ser Gregor's Honor Guard. Due to Oath of Duty now being activated, I place a panic token on the Honor Guard. I play Sustained Assault to have highest attack die value and get rerolls, and because it's targeting Stannis, I will give the Honor Guard a vulnerable token. Stannis is also influenced by Melisandre, so he'll have Vicious. So the attack will be 7 dice on 3+, with rerolls, Sundering, and Vicious.
Thank goodness for rerolls.
Yeah. Oh sure.
Okay. I'll cook your weekend.
Okay.
We'll take
Alright, 4.
4 saves, thundering on 4-ups. Would you like me to vulnerable?
Yeah, go for it.
So 2 casualties and a panic at -1.
Vicious, so -2, -3.
Okay, so it needs a 8 up. Fails for 2.
All right, I'll leave the panic.
Okay.
Andre now activates the Pyromancers and attempts a charge on the Kingsmen, needing a 5+. It's a risky charge, but if it's successful, they're almost certain to force the first charge of To the Last to pop on Stannis' Kingsmen. And as we saw in our last game, our last battle report, Andre has gotten pretty lucky on 5+ charge rolls.
So we'll just crash into the back of these guys.
Yep. Panic check.
Now
I mean, they've always been.
Oh yeah.
They pass.
you're very good.
Yep. Cool. That's them.
Okay.
Next, I activate the Lightbringers and declare a ranged attack on the Pyromancers. I'm in their front arc, and because we have the same ranks, I will get rerolls again. So I'll be throwing 6 dice on 3+ with rerolls and Vicious.
So just like before, it's going to be 6.
Yep.
On 6 on 3s, rerolls because I'm the same ranks as you.
Yep.
All right, 6.
If I pass a T-shirt, I get to make a panic check. No T-shirts. They scoop.
The Pyromancers are killed by the attack, which will generate a new corpse pile and objective. Andre now activates the Lannisport City Watch and moves them as far forward as he can while still keeping them on the corpse pile so he can score that objective at the end of the round. My last activation is the Flayed Men, and I elect to just keep them where they are at the very fringe of that bottom corpse pile. Andre's last activation is the Halberdiers. They elect to charge the Flayed Men, needing a 4+.
I do! Base contact.
The Halberdiers attack, and although they ran through the corpse pile, they will still have rerolls because of that fantastic Gate Warden attachment. So the Halberdiers will be throwing 7 dice on 4+ with Sundering rerolls, and thanks to a Lannister pays his debts now being active, the 4+ goes up to a 3+, and they also gain Vicious.
So I go 4 on 4 up, 5 on 4 up.
So 4 so far.
4. And 1 wound. And then, are they
panic.
vicious?
Yes, they are.
They are? Okay.
My Pyros died for the privilege.
6 goes to 7, goes to 8, goes to 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you mind re-rolling one more armor save? I hit on 3s right now.
You what?
I hit on 3s right now because I control crowns.
Okay.
One more armor save.
4 up.
Okay, cool. Anyway.
So 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yep. Wow.
Good.
That's juicy.
Maintains control.
After the attack, the flayed men retain control of the objective because we forget that after completing an attack, if the attacker has more remaining ranks than the defender, they claim the token. That's the end of the round. I scored 2 points to Andre's 1, although he should have claimed the bottom objective and scored 2 points to my 1. But we'll reflect this in our end of round recap from this point forward, so I'll put in parentheses what the score should be if we had caught that. To start the round, Andre activates Joffrey NCU and claims the swords, giving Ser Gregor's Honor Guard a free attack against the Kingsmen. He influences the Kingsmen with Joffrey and elects to shut off the Kingsmen's abilities with the Honor Guard. So Andre is rolling 6 dice on 3+ with Sundering, but no rerolls.
You can't take that one.
That'll be 4 saves at -1.
4 on 5s.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so that would kill him. He's now going to...
To the last.
So I fail enough defense saves to kill Stannis' unit, but I still have the Kingsmen's innate to the last ability to potentially save Stannis. When I declare this, Andre plays a Hear Me Roar to make the morale test more difficult to pass, and then contends that since the Hear Me Roar will deal me 1 wound upon failing a morale test, Stannis' unit will be killed no matter what if they fail the morale test, because the 1 wound would carry over through the to the last charges to kill Stannis even if he passes his morale test. I read the card closely and then look very confused for a moment, and I propose that I roll for the morale test to see if the debate is even worth getting into.
Morale test.
Yep.
Goes 5 to 6, and then to what else from here?
9. -3.
-3.
Yes.
-1 to the roll, initial -1 for each destroyed rank. So -1, -2, -3. So it's 3, -4. So I go to a 9. Okay,
Yes.
so 9 up. Okay, so that failed.
So after I fail the first to the last morale test, I would be destroyed, but then I elect to spend my second to the last token to attempt to stay alive. Andre and I discussed the timing and the carrying over of wounds from Hear Me Roar in some detail at this point. I think his position is that since I failed the first morale test, I must then roll another morale test for the second charge of to the last, and that regardless of whether I pass or fail, the 1 wound from the first Hear Me Roar failure would follow me to the end of the chain of morale tests to deal Stannis a lethal wound regardless, since it would leave his unit with just 1 wound. I'm thinking at the time that A, this is a super edge case interaction, and another reason why to the last is annoying for both sides of the table to deal with. But at the same time, I'm also thinking that when Stannis failed the first morale test, that morale test was now fully resolved. He would be killed. The Hear Me Roar is now complete. But then to the last comes in again fresh, without the Hear Me Roar or its 1 wound lingering any longer. Andre is confident of his position. I'm not sure the wound carries over, but we still have a morale test to resolve, its potential inconsequentiality notwithstanding. I have a card up my sleeve, though, that might help me out here. So first we'll roll and see if it even
A
matters.
9 or no?
No, it'll just be a 6.
Back to a 6.
Sure.
Okay, so I do that. Now I play Baratheon Conviction when I pass a morale test to restore 2 wounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad list.
So Stannis would be alive before that auto wound came through, right?
Okay.
And then Baratheon Conviction restores 2, and then this would take a wound. Right?
So. Okay, so you still have a panic check to make.
And I still have a panic check. So he's down to 2.
Yep.
Conviction, I don't control any of those zones.
So Stannis stays alive with 2 wounds. Looking back at this now in retrospect, there are a couple of possible ways we interpreted this incorrectly. First, I still contend that the wound from Hear Me Roar would not have followed Stannis past the first morale test failure, because he would have still been dead, but for the subsequent to the last charge and its associated fresh morale test. But if I'm incorrect, and that wound does carry through past the first completed morale test, then playing Baratheon Conviction probably should not have saved Stannis, because if there was 1 extra wound hanging after the resolution of the second morale test, Andre is the active player, and in cases of conflicting timings such as this, the active player, Andre, would take precedence, so his effect would fire off first, killing the Kingsman. I contend, though, that the Hear Me Roar wound would have been lost to the void after the first failed morale test, and that Stannis would then have been able to play Baratheon Conviction, which should have healed the Kingsman up to 3 wounds, instead of the 2 wounds that we settled on. In the meantime, though, we still have a panic test from the initial attack to resolve.
Panic on a 5 goes to 6. Is he vicious?
No.
No. Okay, so just a 6. Which he passes.
After I pass the panic test, this attack is completed and I play Baratheon Justice. The Honor Guard are immune to weakened tokens because of Ser Gregor, so I elect to give them a vulnerable token. At the start of my friendly turn, I play the Supply Aid order from the Lightbringers to remove 3 wounds from them and restore 4 to the Kingsman, trying to shore them up for the inevitable follow-up attack from Ser Gregor. After that, I activate Jaqen NCU and claim the Wealth Zone, healing a further 3 wounds to Stannis. I copy Melisandre's influence effect to influence Stannis, dealing them 2 wounds and zapping them with a panic test in order to do the same to one of Andre's units.
So he'll suffer 2.
Yep.
And now he will attempt to take a panic test. So 5 goes to 4, goes back to 5.
Yep. You're good.
Passes it. He heals 1 from Dauntless.
Yep.
And then I'm going to attempt to. So he's a 5 up. They're a 6 up.
Correct.
They're 6 up. We'll just try to go for Greg. I'll try to do Greg. So he goes from 5 to a 6 to 7 to an 8.
So that'll fail for 4.
Okay.
Andre activates the High Sparrow NCU and claims the Crown Zone. He influences my Lightbringers and zaps them for a panic test to attempt to deal them some damage and then use the influence effect to heal up Ser Gregor's unit.
They pass.
Next, I activate the Kingsman and swing into the Honor Guard. Because of Oath of Duty being active, I will get rerolls, and I have Vicious from Jaqen's Melisandre influence. So that'll be 6 dice at 3+ with Sundering, Vicious, and rerolls.
And then with Alarius thing, I control swords.
Okay, 6.
He dies.
Ser Gregor is slain, earning me a victory point. I then surge forth closer to the Lannisport City Watch with the intention of blocking the Lightbringers from being charged by the City Watch. This potentially puts Stannis in a lethal position, but he is already activated for the round, he has better morale than the Lightbringers, and he isn't holding an objective like they are, so if someone has to get charged, it may as well be him. Andre now activates Tywin NCU and claims the Tactic Zone, giving Stannis' Kingsman a vulnerable token and drawing 2 cards. I activate Melisandre NCU and claim the Maneuver Zone. I maneuver Stannis fully on top of the corpse pile, allowing it to poke out slightly in front of me to deny Andre rerolls if he charges into me. I then influence the Flayed Men, making them a R'hllor unit, but I decide not to panic bomb them in case they drop the objective token. Andre activates the Halberdiers and pokes the Flayed Men, throwing 7 dice at 4+ with Sundering, Vicious, and rerolls.
So 4 saves, Sundering, Vicious.
4 saves on 4s. Take 2. And Vicious, you said?
Yes.
6 goes to 7, goes to 8, goes to 9.
Yep.
What is hidden traps do?
2 more.
And I'll take the objective token.
Yeah,
And that's them.
Okay. That was their activation.
Yes, it was.
3 teachers.
How many did I take there? I took
Total of 4.
total of 4. I'll just final strike.
Sure.
So you just take 4 back.
Yep.
No modifiers.
2 casualties.
You haven't activated yet?
Next, I activate my Lightbringers and declare a ranged attack on the City Watch. When they activate, Andre plays a Subjugation of Power on them to make them take a panic test and possibly lose their abilities, take some damage, but more importantly, drop the objective token.
-2.
And you pass.
So they're still good.
Yep.
6 3s, rerolls.
Sure. 6. So 6 saves. Yep. Half plate. Cool. Panic check. So that'll be 7 casualties.
The City Watch now activate, healing 2 wounds from the Gate Warden attachment and declaring a charge against the Kingsmen.
La-di-da. Hooray. We have equal.
The charge is successful, and due to the Gate Warden attachment, the unit will still get rerolls despite the corpse pile. Andre pops the adaptive style order to give the unit Sundering and Crit Blow, so they'll be throwing 6 dice at 4+ with Sundering, Crit Blow, and rerolls.
So 4 saves, Sundering.
4 on 5.
Yep.
Save 1, take 3. Do you want to use the
yeah.
vulnerable?
Sure.
Okay, take 4.
I don't think it's really pointing anything on the table.
And panic check at a. Are they vicious?
No. Yes, actually. Oh man, I should have hit more. Anyway, yes, they are
Vicious.
vicious.
Okay, so 2, 3 because of the corpse pile, so he goes from a 5 to a 4 to a 7. If I'm counting correctly.
And you're fine.
And he passes, restores 1.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Dauntless. Okay.
My final activation for the round is the Flayed Men. I declare an attack to attempt to recover the objective from the Halberdiers. I'm rolling 5 dice at 3+ with Vicious.
On 3s.
Yep.
Vicious. 3.
3 half plates. Takes 2. 5 check.
Minus 2 for
3.
vicious, 1 for intimidating presence, which I've been forgetting this
So
whole
4
time.
needs 10. They fail for 2. And you'll get the objective
they'll
back.
get 2. Okay, and they'll take 2 wounds because of intimidating presence.
Yep.
Take the objective back.
That's the end of the round. I score 2 points from objectives, but Andre does not control any objectives, so the score goes to 9-5 Baratheon. Since we messed up the scoring of the bottom objective in the previous round, we actually think it's 10-4 at this point, and we shake hands. I think if we had played into the next round, I would have still taken the win since I was first player in round 6 and would have had more firepower left on the field and the swords to lead off the round with. I think between the Kingsmen and the Lightbringers, I would have been able to bring down the City Watch and retain control of that top half of the battlefield. Alright, well that was a pretty tense battle. Not only because I was the one playing it and rewatching it in excruciating detail on repeat throughout the editing process. Let's take a really quick trip down memory lane through the round-by-round recap before giving my thoughts on how the battle went and what could have been done differently. Alright, so in round 1 we're all still kind of posturing and positioning. There's not a whole lot to say here. The Lightbringers and the Pyromancers are still kind of playing peekaboo, while the rest of our front line moves up a little bit conservatively. The exception being my Halberdiers, who are YOLOing themselves up onto that corpse pile because I'm apparently a little overconfident in their survivability. End of round 2, the Halberdiers are already dead. I am not feeling great right now because I have done very little to Andre's front line, and his 4 units are staring at my 2 units. All I really have to say for myself at this point is a corpse pile that the Lightbringers are sitting on, and the Flayed Men, who are my most expensive unit, just sitting on an objective, while Andre's entire army kind of slowly bears down on my front line. I'm, at this point, focusing on the objective play, so usually with Stannis I get a little bit aggressive with him, but right now I'm realizing I cannot be aggressive with him and possibly win this game at this point. So right now my mission is to support those Lightbringers, keep them alive, try to block them from being attacked, and then try to do as much damage with the Lightbringers and Melisandre Jack and bombs as I can before swords actually cross in the battlefield here. Alright, at the end of round 3, things on the battlefield look similar to how they did at the end of round 2. Andre is inching his way forward toward my line. I'm passively scoring more objectives. So although he has more kills and is in a bit more of a dominant position on the battlefield, I am scoring more points because I'm still holding these 2 objectives. The Flayed Men are just kind of cowering in the corner over there. I'm just thinking I really need objectives at this point. Diving into the Halberdiers isn't going to help me much at this point because I don't think I'm going to be able to alpha strike them and knock them out in one blow. So I think just having the Flayed Men sponge more victory points at this point will help me get closer to a win. Stannis is inching back. The Lightbringers are just kind of a defensive turret at this point, shooting at whatever they can. And I am in the lead on the score, but both Andre and I know that this next round is probably going to be the most bloody. So end of round 4, things really kick off at this point. The halberds dive into the flayed men. We mistakenly don't transfer ownership of that objective, so I'm putting the actual score in parentheses here. On the other side, the pyromancers have been shot to pieces by the lightbringers and finished off, so they're out of there. So now it's down to the kaiju fight between the honor guard and the kingsmen, and then those city watch are sitting on that corpse pile, retaining control of that objective as we move into what will be the final round. So here's the game state at the end of the game. The flayed men and the halberdiers are still just poking each other back and forth. I get that token back from them. The honor guard go down. We have that interesting interaction with the kingsmen and the hear me roar and the honor guard, which I'll be anxious to see what people in the comment section think about that, how we should have ruled that if we played it correctly or mostly correctly. And at this point, the actual score should be 9-5, not 10-4. But I think no matter what, if we had gone to round 6, I would have still taken the win here. Between a Kingsman attack and Lightbringer's attack, I think I would have been able to kill off the City Watch and score that 10th point, barring me getting tabled by Andre's army at this point. But I don't think that would have happened. But we'll never know quite for sure, but I would have my money on me still taking the win in round 6. Before giving my feedback on actual play of the battle, I want to apologize for the scoring mistakes that may have led to some confusion. In the end, I don't think the outcome would have changed as a result of that 1 point difference. We would have progressed to a fairly short round 6, but it would have ended there. We missed a few other things here and there, but hopefully those oversights will be forgiven as the innocent result of high-stakes, top-table mental strain on the part of both of us. For my part, I think I played the game pretty well, albeit a bit differently than I originally expected. I'm accustomed to being quite aggressive with my Stannis' Kingsmen, since their To the Last ability allows them to survive some damage spikes that would otherwise delete other 4+ armor units. The Pyros and the Honor Guard in the center tempered my aggression, though, and after the early, unexpected demise of the Halberdiers, I immediately needed to snap into defensive mode. I knew my Lightbringers could potentially equalize the power balance on that side of the battlefield if I could just keep them and Stannis alive long enough to loose a few volleys at the Pyromancers. Indeed, clearing the Pyros was one of my primary battlefield objectives. Holding the ranged advantage, I was confident that I could get rid of them as long as I could keep them at arm's reach and deny them the ability to slip out of line of sight. Pyromancers save on a 6+, so if you throw enough dice at them, they will be destroyed. Their morale is high, perhaps too high to be honest, so I couldn't really rely on my vicious panic test succeeding. Prior to this match, I had heard some post-game horror stories from other players who had been on the receiving end of the Pyromancers in previous rounds of the game. Keeping this in mind, I knew my Lightbringers could delete the Pyros if I played them correctly and didn't overextend my front line. Once I overextended my front line and my Halberdiers were destroyed, though, I was forced to change my strategy from one of careful offense to a fighting retreat and focusing on objective play to equalize the power balance. Andre and I had a confused interaction with Hear Me Roar and To the Last, and I'd appreciate hearing the input of anyone who's actually stuck around to this point in the video to tell me what they think of that interaction. I don't think we played it 100% correctly, taking kind of a compromised position on the interaction. So if we had played it the way I think it should have been played, the net effect would have been that Stannis would have suffered one fewer wound. If we had played it with the Hear Me Roar wound crossing through both morale tests and then taking precedence over the Baratheon conviction, Stannis' Kingsmen would have been killed at that point, and the game would very likely have swung in Andre's favor from that point onward. But I'd be interested to know what other people think of this one. One choice I made in this game that I'm not completely sold on is keeping the flayed men down on the bottom objective for the entire game. I think if I had not bothered with that objective, Andre may have sent his halberdiers over there, at which point I could have either attempted to fight him for that objective with the flayed men, resulting in much the same outcome, I think, if with fewer victory points for myself. Alternatively, I could have completely conceded that objective and directed the flayed men's efforts toward the fight in the center, perhaps engaging the Lannister Halberdiers in the center, hopefully destroying them, and then moving on to support the fight against the Honor Guard, or just sitting on the corpse pile that was generated by the Halberdiers toward the center, or wherever they were destroyed. In any case, I'm not sure if the Flayed Men could have contributed to the scoring of more objective points than they already did. They scored 4 points in the game, although they should have only scored 3 due to a rules oversight that we made. And what amounted to a 5-round game, I think 3 VPs for them is pretty okay value. As for Andre's play, I'm not sure what more he could have done to improve the outcome. Andre is a fantastic Lannister player and probably the best Lannister player I've had the misfortune to go up against over the course of this summer's Texas tournament circuit. The only thing I could see that may have shifted the outcome would be if Andre threw his Honor Guard at me more quickly. His Honor Guard and Stannis' Kingsmen were destined to be locked in melee at some point, and the sooner that he jumped into a fight with the Kingsmen, the sooner he could work to grind them down and perhaps finish them off with a pyro charge or a ranged attack. Allowing me to keep his front line at arm's length gave me a lot of time to pop off more Mel Bombs and Lightbringer attacks, while shifting my Kingsmen and Lightbringers backward to survive long enough to accumulate a good VP lead. Alright, with this battle report in the books, that concludes the Battleground Collectibles tournament. Our next video will feature the top table match of another recent Texas tournament, this time taking place at Brazos Valley Hobby and Games in Bryan, Texas. I'll give more background on that one during the next video, but it was a very fun and well-run tournament. As I said earlier in the video, I'll likely do a more abbreviated editing process on that video in an effort to get it and the following battle report videos out sooner before the next patch drops. So stay tuned to the channel for those. That's all for this battle report. If you enjoyed the video and haven't already, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Big thanks again to my opponent Andre for the game, to Battleground Collectibles for hosting, and to Will for a fantastic job TOing the tournament. Until next time, this is Randall, signing off.